Hey everybody, Jake here with TrendSpider to go over the weekend analysis for Memorial Day weekend. And we will be looking at SPY, QQQ, and XBI. Starting with SPY, the daily and the weekly chart. What we can see here on the daily chart on the left is a breakdown of this recent ascending wedge. And then we actually tested this as resistance above today before continuing to break down into the close. Now, what's interesting is we are right at this SMA 20, but this is the SMA 20 from the weekly candle, not the daily. So we are overlaying this longer term indicator on the shorter term time frame to see how these two are interacting. Now, it is interesting to see that this has been an area of support back in 2018 in the summer, and then resistance in the fall of 2018. We finally broke through this area in early 2019, and we are now finally at this area once again. So this is a pretty big status quo area. If we did start to break down, that would probably catch a few eyes and the attention of some bigger names out there. So we'll just have to see if this area does hold. One thing I can do is create an alert at this line. So anytime that the price action gets anywhere within this purple area, so you can see when I move it, it will move as well. So let's say, we want to be alerted anytime the price gets within about $1.40 from the selected line. So you can see here the purple area is the margin of error, and the margin of error in this case is $1.38 away from this line. And so we can name it just SMA 20 close. We'll choose a breakthrough touch and a bounce, and we will have it expire in 30 days. So now anytime that the price action gets within this area and closes within this area, we will be alerted. From the lower indicator side of things, it's looking interesting here with the percent range and the RSI hitting oversold levels previously and really kind of still chilling in this area. Now, what we do have is the vortex indicator with the red about to possibly cross the blue. And the last time we have seen that with some divergence. So really anytime the red is diverging from the blue and we have this big area of just open space and then they start to converge, that can sometimes be a reason to think, okay, maybe there's some upside or downside depending on what side the color's on. When the blue is above the red and it crosses to the downside like we had here, notice that was an indication of a further breakdown. So we can show that with the vertical line here. So when we did break down here, that was an indication that there was more room to move down to this wedge support. So, will the red cross the blue and we continue up? We'll just have to see. But from a longer term side of things on the weekly chart, we can really see that this previous area of support from January of 2016 has acted as resistance now 1, 2, 3, 4 times. So this has been a very strong area to watch for a possible breakout, but for now we are holding below it. This is the monthly SMA 20 overlaid on the weekly chart. So if we did continue down, this would be an area that I think price could find support at, as it did previously back in late 2018. So from a divergence perspective, we can see we did barely test these all-time highs here, but we had lower lows on the RSI. So here we had 75, and then here we topped out at 70. So this is showing negative divergence. We've got higher highs and then lower highs here, and we have the blue about to cross the red. The last 2 times that has happened, we can see that here, we crossed right about here, and then we crossed right about here previously. Oops. And so what you can see is, this has generally been an area of one, a bottoming area. In this case, we bottomed right on the support line after we crossed. And then 2, this was a previous area that we did hold support and then continued to break down once that crossed. So we'll just have to see what happens this time around. It's always good to look at multiple time frames. One thing that I would definitely look for is the VI cross here and a breakdown of the RSI below, let's say 40. So I could go in here, create an alert, a multi-factor alert, and we would do possible breakdown weekly, expires in 30 days, triggered one time, and we would do, let's do this. We would do in this case, the weekly. In this case, we can do, well, we don't have to worry about price action. We'll just do lower indicators. We'll do the indicator RSI, has crossed down below the constant value of, we said 40. And then we can also add the vortex indicator across, so that'd be the weekly indicator, that'd be the VI positive, has crossed down below the VI, the weekly vortex negative. And so we can see that here, that would be that cross. So whenever these two things happen, I will be alerted and know, okay, maybe it's time to look for a bigger breakdown. So that alert is created, and the system is now watching this chart for me. So TrendSpider can really be a second set of eyes for you, so you're not looking at 15 different charts at once. The system is watching for these conditions and letting you know when they do become true. Now, moving on to the Qs, we can see here that we do have a kind of similar setup as far as the lower indicators go. We are in a more defined kind of flag here, if you want to call it that. Some people may call it a downtrend, but we have had a pretty strong uptrend, and so it's natural to have maybe some pullback to that SMA 20 as we saw on SPY as well. So this did not act as hard of support back in October, November as the SMA 20 on the SPY did, but it is now acting as support, and this will be an interesting area to see if we can hold. Same thing on the vortex indicator. Red looks like it's about to cross the blue. So, if that did occur, I do want to be alerted. So we'll do the same thing, create an alert. In this case, we'll do QQQ daily VI break. Expires in 30 days. And then we would just do the condition. In this case, it's the daily indicator. Vortex negative has crossed down below the vortex, that is the daily, below the vortex positive. And so whenever these two cross, we will also be alerted. So it'll be interesting to see, if this does cross and if that does continue up, or it just tests this area and then continues down. So, we could easily kind of track this channel by creating an alert on both sides. So in this case, it would just be channel support. We have caps lock on, so support, breakthrough touch or bounce, expires in 30 days, create, and then we can do the exact same thing on the other side. So anytime this kind of channel status quo breaks down, we will be alerted, and we'll put a little more sensitivity at the top since there's been a little more volatility there, and we'll do channel resistance, expires in 30 days, create alert. So now anytime we break out of this particular channel, we will be alerted. And you can kind of see that here on the weekly. We have a very steep kind of price action going here. So the steeper and the sharper the peak, sometimes the harder the fall. So we'll have to see if we do continue down to this SMA 20 from the monthly, or we do catch a bid here. One thing to note here is on the relative strength index, we actually did not have that divergence as we did on SPY. So that is something to keep in mind. However, we are really right in the middle of this very long-term upward sloping channel, and price action will generally gravitate towards one of these three areas: the top, the middle, or the bottom. My guess is maybe towards the middle here, similar to how we found support back in late October, early November, and we'll just see if that does come true. Lastly, we will look at XBI, and that is the biotech sector. And as always, it kind of has a mind of its own, and sometimes can tell us a little bit about what's going on, in the markets. And the first thing is, we just looked at the SMA 20 from the weekly on the SPY and the Qs, and we can see that, we're actually below that area on XBI, and we were above that area on SPY and the Qs. So, is this telling us that risk is off and people are already starting to kind of sell off more speculative positions, with biotech being a very speculative industry and sector? We'll just have to see. But one thing to note is this is kind of a cool example of this alert going off, right? We touched this general area. We actually did not get to the trend line, but we did get in it enough where the candle did close on a shorter term time period, and then let us know that there was break or a touch on that line. So, we'll have to see if this does pull back from there, or we do break out and continue to try to test this line above. And really, lower indicators aren't showing a ton here. With biotech being a little bit crazy sometimes, I generally don't find a lot of lower indicator signals as I find them more on SPY and the Qs. And a lot of the time you have to optimize this. This is going to signal differently than it does on SPY or the Qs. And that's the same thing for a lot of stocks. You can look at 10 different stocks, but if you're looking at the Williams percent range 10, the RSI 10, and the Vortex 10, you're going to have a different signal on each stock. Some stocks signal better on different indicators than others, because if you have a lot of participants in the market looking at a particular indicator, it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. So those are a few ways that you can use the system and really see how this can be useful in an everyday setting, just taking a look at the charts over the weekend while you have some free time. And really, it's just it's another tool to help you be more efficient in the market when you're analyzing different stocks, and save some time and be a second pair of eyes. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out at hello@trendspider.com, or you can reach us at TrendSpider on any of the social media platforms. We're on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and you can always sign up for a free trial. Give the system a try without any obligation on your end, and we'd be happy to get your feedback and see if this is something that is useful for you and your analysis. Thank you so much. Everyone have a great Memorial Day weekend, and we will have another video coming up next weekend. Thank you.